Welcome! Today we're going to talk about something that's pretty serious but also incredibly important: situational awareness. We're going to walk through some professional guidance on this because it's a skill that can truly make a difference. So let's just dive right in. Let me just start with a question for you. Think about your day-to-day, your commute, your office, that trip to the grocery store. Do you really notice what's out of the ordinary around you? Honestly, that one question is the key to everything we're about to cover. All right, so to make this all make sense, we've broken it down into 4 key parts. First, we'll build the foundation of awareness. Then, we'll get into how to recognize the indicators. After that, we'll look at the anatomy of an attack, and we'll finish up with what's probably the most critical piece of all: your response plan.
Okay, Section 1, the foundation of awareness. Now, I want to be clear, this is not about being paranoid or living in fear. Not at all. It's really just about building a simple but powerful habit of paying attention to what's going on around you.
So what exactly is situational awareness? Well, put simply, it's about getting a feel for what's normal in your environment. You establish this baseline in your head so that you can spot things, people, or events that just don't fit in. It's not a superpower, right? It's a skill, and it's one you can develop just by being a little more present.
And this is exactly why this all matters so much. It isn't just about keeping yourself safe. The source material is really clear on this. Your vigilance, you simply noticing that something is off, could genuinely be the one thing that provides the warning needed to prevent an attack. I mean, that's a pretty empowering thought, isn't it?
So let's move on to Section 2. Knowing you should be aware is one thing, but what are you actually looking for? Well, this section is great because it gives us some really simple, memorable tools to help us identify what's out of place.
So here's the first tool, and what's great is how simple it is to remember. If you see something that seems a bit odd, like a bag left on its own, you can just run it through the HOT protocol in your head. Is it hidden or tucked away? Is it obviously suspicious? And is it typical for that place? A backpack on a train platform. Pretty typical. That same backpack left behind a planter in a quiet lobby? Maybe not so much. It's just a quick mental checklist. And here's a really crucial point. Our awareness has to go beyond just objects. The way people behave can be an even bigger clue that something isn't right. So let's look at a tool for thinking about actions. Just like we had HOT for items, we've got the WHAT protocol for behavior. So you ask yourself, what are they doing? Are they taking photos of security features? How are they behaving? Are they acting really nervous or strange? Are they alone or working with others? And finally, what kind of threat could this behavior point to? It just helps you organize your thoughts in a really logical way.
Okay, on to Section 3. So now we have these tools to spot the signs. The next logical step is connecting those signs to what they might actually be pointing towards. We're going to look at the anatomy of an attack. Some signs, well, they're pretty much impossible to miss. If you see a whole crowd of people running in one direction, that's a massive red flag. Same goes for any unexplained smoke or fire, blown out windows, or weird liquids and powders. These are very clear visual signs that something is wrong. And of course, sound is just as critical. An alarm, gunshots, an explosion, those are obvious, but you should also be listening for other things, like a vehicle revving its engine when it should be idle, or the sound of screeching tires. Your ears can give you a really vital head start.
So these indicators often point to one of several common attack methods. They can range from something really simple and easy to hide, like a bladed weapon, all the way to more complex threats like improvised devices or using a vehicle as a weapon. And it's really important to remember these can be combined, say a vehicle attack followed by another attack with a bladed weapon.
Now, a common thread you'll see in a lot of these scenarios is the use of improvised devices. And to really understand the threat, it helps to understand just basically how they're put together.
Okay, so without getting too technical here, an improvised explosive device, or IED, usually has 4 main parts. You've got the packaging, that could be anything, a backpack, a car, a pipe. Then you have a power source and a switch. You need an initiator, which is the thing that actually provides the spark to set it off. And finally, you have the hazardous material itself. Just understanding these basic parts helps demystify the whole thing. And this brings us to our final and honestly our most empowering section, your response plan. Because knowing what to look for is only half the battle, right? Knowing what to do, that's the other more critical half. This quote from the source material is, well, it's chilling, but it's so important that we understand it.
Time is absolutely the most critical factor in these situations, and that's exactly why having a plan already in your mind before anything happens is so incredibly powerful. It lets you act instead of just reacting.
So, what is that plan? Well, for one of the most common scenarios you might imagine, a firearms or weapons attack, the guidance is super direct and, thankfully, easy to remember.
The advice is simple. Run, hide, tell. First things first, if there is a safe path out, you run. That is always your best option. If you can't run, you hide. Get behind something solid, barricade the door, turn your phone to silent. And finally, when and only when it is safe to do so, you tell the police. Call 999. Give them every detail you can. Run, hide, tell.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about a different kind of situation? What if the signs, like those weird liquids or powders we talked about, suggest that a chemical or some other hazardous substance is involved? Well, the response plan is different.
In a case like this, the advice is remove, remove, remove. First, remove yourself from the immediate area. Get to fresh air, get away from more exposure. Second, remove any outer clothing that might have the substance on it. And third, remove the substance from your skin. The best way is to blot or brush it off first with something dry and then rinse with a lot of water.
Now, no matter what the scenario is, when first responders get there, it's still going to be a chaotic scene. The most important thing you can do is help them secure the area. That means obeying every single instruction, not making any sudden moves, and keeping your hands visible so they know you're not a threat. And just try to stay as calm as you can.
So, let's just bring this all together. It's really a three-step process, right? First, you build your situational awareness. Then, you learn to recognize the indicators with simple tools like HOT and WHAT. And finally, you have a clear response plan, like run, hide, tell, ready to go in your mind. This knowledge isn't meant to make you anxious. It's meant to empower you.
And that leaves us with one last and I think really crucial question. It's one thing to hear all this information, but it's a whole other thing to actually internalize it. So ask yourself, when was the last time you mentally walked through your plan for the places you go every single day? Because thinking about it now could make all the difference.